You're listening to Keith Engle, the host of TGI Sports Talk on the National Streaming Sports Roku channel. Keith Engle, the guy with the Sports Talk show. On the internet, he's the guy that we all know. If you love your sports, he's the guy for you. He has lots of shows on Roku. Keith Engle with the TGI Sports Talk show.
Football season is here, and SeatGeek is my go-to for buying tickets. Now with SeatGeek, every single ticket is backed with their buyer guarantee. We've all had plans change, and when you can't make it to the big game, SeatGeek has you covered. They're the only ticketer that allows you to return your tickets ahead of the event for credit with SeatGeek swaps. So when things come up, I know that my tickets won't go to waste. So what are you waiting for? Download the SeatGeek app to maximize your possibilities and shop live events with confidence.
You're watching National Streaming Sports. Over 20 podcasts, 70 shows, and a 3.5-star rating on Roku TV.
Good evening, everybody. Keith Engle here for TGI Sports Talk's College Football Huddle. Great to have you all with us tonight. And we welcome you to the show. Lots to talk about tonight. Thanks to SeatGeeks, by the way, for sponsoring National Streaming Sports, where you can catch this show on Roku live, at least the first hour tonight. Then we give way to Sports Scopes, which I'll be on at 8:30 with Robert Butler tonight, and I'll be happy to share that to my pages as well. We welcome everybody watching tonight on Facebook, YouTube, again, the Roku channel for National Streaming Sports. The first two outlets I mentioned were my TGI Sports Talk outlets. We want to say a quick shout out to Ralph Williams at RW Media. Ralph does some great stuff there out of Pittsburgh, including the Sports Corner with Smoking Jim Frazier every Tuesday from 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern. I was a guest yesterday from 4:30 to 5 yesterday. If you want to watch that, you can catch it on my Facebook page. And it did say 2014, but I can tell you that show was in 2024. So Ralph had a little trouble. I know Ralph had some eye trouble, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So we hope you're doing better, Ralph. So that might have contributed to that mistyping of the date. So I just want to make sure everybody knew that wasn't a 10-year-old show. Shout out to the groups. John Gonzalez at the Sports Authorities. Great group. I know a lot of you guys, Danny Fuller and Drew and the crew, have all joined there and been great participants. Quick shout out to the Bottom Line Sports with Flo and the gang. Great podcast that they do. That is aired, by the way, on Let's Talk Sports, who is a friend of the show, and we allows us to share their Facebook platform. Also, who else we want to mention tonight? How about Greg? Greg doesn't really fit tonight, unfortunately, but Greg Rawlings does some great stuff at the America's Pastime. Unfortunately, he doesn't fit the theme of this show, so I don't know why I brought it up. But Ken Krautz at Golf Buds, Sports of All Sorts, does. Plus, dozens and dozens of other groups that let me show this show and all my shows. I appreciate their help. DDH, thumbs up to you. And a couple of we don't have any announcements really tonight. I guess they can wait for next week. We're going to be starting vacation on the 25th, but we'll still do next week's show live. We'll still get this show in while we're on the cruise. I think we're gone. I don't know if we're gone. I think we're gone 12 days. So I think I'm only missing one Wednesday. I won't miss the Wednesday. We'll get the show in. It may not be at 7 p.m. Eastern, but sometime that afternoon, we will do at least an hour, if not a little longer, of the College Sports Huddle from the middle of the Caribbean, as well as we'll do 2 Sundays from the middle of the Caribbean starting next Sunday. Not this coming Sunday, but the next Sunday. We'll do 2 Sundays of the Sunday Stream of Consciousness show. The one-on-one show may be on hiatus for a little bit, only because we weren't able to put any interviews together to put in the can and air while we're away, and it's a little hard to do interview shows while we're in the middle of the ocean. I was supposed to have an interview today to tape with June Jones, former coach of the Hawaii Rainbows. I'm not sure if that's her name anymore. I'm sure that's offensive to somebody. Yeah, actually, now that I think about it, probably is. And also the SMU Mustangs. And June did not make it today. June's out in Hawaii, and we couldn't get that interview in. If for some reason we get it in tomorrow, we'll probably save it for one of the weeks that I'm away. But we will do a one-on-one show. We're going to come on Friday morning and talk for an hour or so about whatever you guys want. We'll just kind of open mic Friday, and we'll see how it goes from there. Lots to talk about tonight. Let me see who's with us, by the way. Hang on, I got a thing in my way here. We got a lot of comments coming up already. Lots to talk about. Guys, don't go away. I'm going to get my hellos in. We got big matchups this week. We had big matchups last week. We'll talk about Ohio State, Oregon. Bama doing everything they could to lose. LSU coming back and beating Ole Miss. I see James Martin there with us, wants to get in on that. The Fighting Irish roll. Clemson continues to fight their way back in the top 10. We'll talk about the push, Kirby Smart's push of the Mississippi State quarterback. Should something happen there? I don't know. I'm kind of torn. How about Dan Lanning's use of the rule book? Interesting. No rule against it. There will be probably by this weekend. And the spitting incident in Oregon we can talk about as well as a bunch of other stuff. Army and Navy now 6-0. Both ranked this week. We'll talk about the polls. Texas still number one. Ohio State doesn't fall very far, as I predicted, and we'll talk about that and everything else you guys have on your mind. I see Augustin with us tonight. I'm going to go right to him. Big Oregon fan here, as is Paul Spada if he's with us tonight. We'll see as we get through the hellos. But hello, Augustin, and congratulations on a big victory. Oregon's first Big Ten win. I'm not sure. Hi, Sonia, but I have no idea how to react to that. Danny Fuller out in LA, big UCLA fan. Not much to talk about there yet, unfortunately. Okay, thank you. Sonia, thanks for sharing and not shafting. After the last show, we were on the professional sports show on National Streaming Sports. I got it right, Mac. Check that out. The professional sports show on National Streaming Sports just before this one. That show seems to get a little raucous now and again. And after that, I wasn't sure what Sonia was saying to me. AC, good to see you with us tonight. Always good to have you with us. Our Notre Dame bet's still alive, buddy. If you remember, I predicted Notre Dame would win the national championship. It's going to take a lot for that to happen. But we're alive. All we got to do is get in the playoff, and who knows what can happen, AC. And we're trending towards the playoff. We're just outside it right now. We'll take a quick look at some of the different polls. We'll look at we'll go by the AP poll, and we'll do the picks from there. But then we'll also look at maybe Stewie Mandel's picks from the Athletic. Good evening, Dave Guyette. He's a Syracuse fan. Syracuse 5-1 now. I said watch for Syracuse to be 9-3, 10-2, 5-1 right now. Interesting race matching up in the ACC. I'll tell you, Clemson coming back from the dead. Again, they haven't really necessarily played a lot of high-ranked schools, but they played very, very good football. Miami just seems like a loss waiting to happen somewhere. We'll see. Pittsburgh 6-0. Syracuse 5-1. Wide open. We'll go around the conferences tonight as well. There's Augustin as well. There's my boy. That's right. I've been looking for a nickname. James has given me the Reverend, apparently. Reverend Keith, because as some of you know, I did officiate my niece's wedding last Friday. Congratulations to her and her new betrothed. They're back home safely in Orlando after making it up here. And a lot of the wedding party was coming from Florida, and somehow the majority of them made it. A couple people didn't. We were sad that happened, but it was a beautiful, beautiful day, a beautiful ceremony, and Keith misbehaved. The Reverend misbehaved after the wedding, but he's done his mea culpas, and we should be okay. Good win for your LSU team. James moves up quite a bit. I believe, where are they now? 8, am I right? Are they 8? They are now number 8 in the country. LSU Tigers. Every week there's huge games in the SEC. If you don't think the games matter because of a 12-team playoff, you got to look at the schedule. We got Georgia, Texas this weekend. Oregon football 6-0, strong playoff seed, number 2. Right now, they are a number 2 seed, most likely, and they'll get a bye in the first round, but a long ways to go because they will have to face off against Ohio State again, most likely, Augustine, in where they play Lucas Oil Stadium, I believe, is where they play the Big Ten championship game. I'd be shocked if it won't be Oregon against Ohio State. Oregon, after playing, did I say Oregon State? No, I said Oregon. Oregon, after struggling early, I mean, they're 6-0, but some of those losses were a little scary, or wins were a little scary, and were nearly losses. Your record says who you are, according to Bill Parcells, and that fat bastard never lied. So, excuse my French. This is an interesting game, by the way. A couple of things to think about. We had the spitting incident. And by the way, that's not indicative in any way in my mind of a Dan Lanning team. That kid, I'm sure, will be reprimanded, I hope. This is not an NCAA thing, I don't believe. This is a Dan Lanning and Oregon thing. And I would like to see this kid on the bench for this game this coming week. But Dan Lanning's used to the rule book. Taking a penalty, giving up 5 yards, 12 men on the field. He knew he'd get penalized, but he was able to get time off the clock. That loophole will probably be closed, maybe as soon as this week. That's not cheating, by the way. When you take advantage of a rule that's there to be taken advantage of, I do not think that's cheating. I know that some of you are going to disagree with me because of my stance on some other non-issues in my mind, but again, that it is what it is. And also, Will Howard, I'm not sure if I'm not mistaken, and maybe I'm wrong because I'm not seeing this a lot. Anybody really commenting on this? If Will Howard had slid, people were getting on Will Howard for going down. If Will Howard slides a second or two earlier, Ohio State may have got a field goal attempt off there. I'm trying to remember where they were on the field, but I believe they were close enough to attempt at least a long field goal and maybe pull out a victory. Rick Sherlock, good evening. Good to have you. One more congratulations to Rick. You know what, Rick? Here's what I'm thinking about. I'm considering, if I can figure out how to get the video, I'm considering playing your brother's induction speech to the Pro Football Hall of Fame as part of Friday's show. Tell me what you think about that. I don't want to do something that he'd be wouldn't be okay with. I don't know why he wouldn't be. And I know that it was, I think it was his wife's video that you shared with me. It was a great, nice speech, a really nice and well done speech by your brother, Bob. And he was inducted into the National Semi-Pro Football Hall of Fame, by the way, this past weekend. I'm thinking about using it if I can get it where I can share it. I'm not sure that I can, but I'll try. I think all I need to do is probably go to Facebook and I can share the page within the show. So I'm thinking about doing that as part of Friday's show. It's what was it, between him and Harry's words before Bob's speech. I think it was 12 or 13 minutes. I'm thinking about it. You tell me your thoughts, Rick, and I won't do it if you think it's going to cause a problem. I'm just thinking about doing it as part of Friday morning show. I will enjoy my vacation. Thank you. My wife deserves it more than I do, putting up with me, especially like when the Reverend was out of control last Friday night. It was a long night, but we had a lot of fun. Family in town for nearly a week, so we had a lot of fun. So thank you, Sonia. We're gonna have a lot of fun on vacation too, and as always, we'll get our shows in where we can. I think we can get this show in. As I said, I think we'll only have to do one Wednesday from the high seas. The Sunday Stream of Consciousness will take 2 Sundays but we'll do that. And we probably don't go full shows, but we'll get enough time to have chat, a few laughs. You guys can see some of the beautiful weather we're enjoying and things like that. Right? I don't know. It just struck me at the last second. Again, nothing wrong with that. I have no problem with that. It's just, I'm not sure they're the Rainbows. Maybe they're the Warriors. Well, I have no idea. They can't be the Warriors either. I got to find out now. Now I'm all over the place. I've got to know what Hawaii's. By the way, there'll be a full-time member of the Mountain West now going forward as well. Rainbow Warriors. They're still the Rainbow Warriors. They got to change your name twice, probably, for crying out loud, don't they? Hello, Linda. We're all watching. Hi, James, Sonia, watching on Roku. Good to have you with us, Linda and Mac. I do appreciate the shared video, as always. I try to do that myself. And great. By the way, Mac and Linda do a great job over there at National Streaming Sports. And that's probably what the wow was for, because I got the show name right tonight. I have a little trouble with this Wednesday night show, the professional sports show that precedes this one. Guys, I got to remember, somebody give me the 5-minute warning if you can. Rick, you're usually pretty good at that. Before 8 o'clock, I want to make sure I say goodbye to the Roku audience, because Robert Butler with Sports Scope comes on after the show for an hour. You can catch this show in the last half hour of it on its replay on Saturday. Tonight at midnight, you could watch it with the full. No, I guess I think you would get the full. I'm not sure, Linda. You tell me. I think when I air these shows at midnight, I get the full hour and a half. I think. If not, you can get it Saturday morning at 9 a.m., by the way. Good job tonight, James, getting your opinions. Sometimes it gets a little tough. I was a little quiet. So Lanning's off the chain. Listen, he's a good football coach. He was excited after the victory, going at it with his assistants a little bit. So I'm thinking in this instance that that's a positive thing. What about UGA versus Texas Longhorns coming up? As I said, I think I mentioned it earlier. Every week in the SEC, there's some big matches. We got huge games this week, and we'll get into them a bit later. We got Georgia versus Texas. We got Bama versus Tennessee. Notre Dame gets Georgia Tech on the road. Not an easy win. Notre Dame's got to keep winning these games. And, again, they need some style points where they can get them. I'm not sure this is a place they can go for style points. Michigan will play Illinois, both still ranked, lower, but ranked. LSU's got a tough bounce back game at Arkansas, who maybe has already saved Sam Pittman's job. I think they may have a couple more victories. I think he'll get another year, but a big game and maybe a letdown game for LSU. We'll see what happens there. UCF and Iowa State still undefeated. BYU undefeated gets, who do they get? I can't read my own writing here. Come on. Really? I think they play early, so I think I can find it. Who's BYU playing? Apparently they're playing no one. I somehow have my standings page in the place where my scores were, so bear with me 1 second if you would. I don't know. I guess it's not that important. BYU's got Oklahoma State. That's what I couldn't read. The Big 12 looks like it's upside down. The teams predicted to finish at the bottom are all at the top. A lot of big games. How about Army and Navy? I mentioned before, 1945, since they were last both 6-0, actually, since they were both 4-0. I don't know when was the last time they were both nationally ranked? Let's find out. Last time, Army, Navy. I meant to find this before, so apologize. Both ranked. Let's see what I get. Anybody can help me with this? 1960. Army and Navy ranked in the top 25 for the first time since 1960. For those who can't add, that's 64. That's the same age I am. So that's how long ago. I was a little baby boy on October 16th, 1960. I was 1 day away from being 3 months old. Big game, though, this weekend. So what do you think? And we're going to get into the games. We'll make our picks. We'll give our standings on the pick 'em, which is kind of close, except for some anonymous people. We don't know who the heck they are. I like Texas. The game's at home. I mean, geez, where is that game? Let me just see if I can pull it up real quick. We'll talk about this one real quick for a second. I don't think this is a bettable game. I thought Danny and I both thought the 50 and the over was an easy pick on the Texas Oklahoma game. This one's 56. Texas is a 5-point favorite. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what Georgia team's showing up. Is Georgia as good as they were, what we saw against Clemson? I mean, really, it's their only performance to date that they can really hang their hat on in my mind. That game is at a neutral site, theoretically. They struggled to beat Kentucky on the road. They lost to Alabama. Their other victories are not against, high caliber teams. Not sure what to think. That was a typo. I believe you, Sonia. Don't worry. Notre Dame, AC. We're going to need some help, man. Once they're in, I could start hedging. That's a good point. Once they're in, I think they will get in. I've had this comment with Kenny Gifford. He's a huge Notre Dame fan. They're not in today. I don't think they're in yet today, and we'll look at this in a second, but I do not believe they're in today. I'll snap for a real. Well, I'm an ordained minister. It's very hard to do in New York. It was painstaking what they put me through to become ordained here in New York State. I must have spent, I don't know, 9, maybe 8 or 9 minutes on the website filling out a form, submitting my credit card, and pushing yes. And I got all my stuff in the mail. I can show you guys. Hold on. Oh no, it's over here. For those of you doubting me, let me just show you this if I can. Can I get it in the right place? There you go. For anyone doubting, Keith, or anybody wants to renew their vows or get married for the first time, I'm more than happy to step in and help you out. I think I did a decent job. I thought I did a really good job. I don't want to pat myself on the back, but I thought it was. We had a nice mix of reverence and to the moment, solemnness of the moment, and some fun and some laughter, and we had a lot of fun. Then afterwards, I'll talk about that. Oh, LSU, come on, Sonia, leave your boy James alone. Keith, you got to tell me what you think about the rule that the receiving team stepping out in the kickoff and the kicker gets the flag. I think it's stupid. AC, I know you brought this up Sunday, and I think it was near the end of the show. We didn't have a chance to talk about it. I think that's a stupid rule. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he can come from out of bounds and do this as well, which is, there's a lot of stupid rules in football. Most of them seem to be on kickoffs these days. And people find little loopholes. And I don't know what game you might have seen this in. I'm having a little trouble. Did it happen in the Ohio State Oregon game? I don't remember. You can't. I mean, it's ridiculous that you can't run out of bounds. That's where the ball is. And I don't remember exactly the circumstances this happened in, but I know the rule that you're talking about. And again, it's an outlandish rule that needs to be changed. Augusta will continue to root those Oregon Ducks on for sure. I don't know where game day is this week. Where's game day? I'm assuming game day's in Texas. I'd be shocked if that's not where they are. Where can they be? LSU's absolutely in the mix. They're in. If we had a playoff today, James, they're going to be in, right? Let's take a look at the poll as James has taken us to that point. So here's who would be in if we started today. The buys would go to Tech. Again, we have to make assumptions that these teams ranked the highest will win their conference. Texas. These are the buys. Texas, Oregon, Miami, Iowa State. That's your 4 buys, your 4 automatic winners. The 12th seed would also an automatic bid would be number 15, Boise State. By the way, Boise State is making a run at potentially getting a bye. I'm not sure that, again, Iowa State's, I don't think, going undefeated. It's possible that Big 12 winner or the ACC winner finishes below Boise State if they win out and win the Mountain West. Something to think about. There's your 4 buys. Your at-large teams are going to be Penn State, Ohio State, Georgia, Alabama, LSU. What I got left? I got 2 teams left. No. Yeah, 2 teams left. Clemson, Tennessee. Notre Dame would be on the outside looking in today. LSU would be in. And you would have, 1, 2. I'm sorry, take that back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 SEC teams and 3 Big Ten teams and 2 ACC teams. Interesting. I've said all along, Notre Dame, they're going to stay on the cusp. I don't think Notre Dame, because these teams are going to keep winning ahead of them. Somebody's going to keep winning. Notre Dame's going to have trouble moving to the 5, 6, 7 spot where they can rest easy. Now, we've still got a few weeks before we have the first playoff poll. So, Jeremy, Kneecap, what's that nickname you go by? Big Lions fan, Jeremy. Good to have you with us. Happy birthday, by the way. Jeremy, I think, was complaining about turning 50. I'd give my right arm to be 50 again, man. Happy birthday. Good to have you up with us. CA's with us. Happy birthday to you. No, you're not happy birthday. Good day, CA. Good to have you with us again tonight. Jack's absence is the root cause. Too funny. Here's Chris Fgrave, our Canadian. I used to say our Toronto correspondent, but he's not in Toronto anymore. He's moved further north. I think he's at like the North Pole or someplace like that. But Chris is with us tonight. He says, happy birthday to Gene Carroll, who would have been 128. If he was still alive, that would be a record, I believe, of some kind. He played 4 games for the Colorado Panhandlers, came out of Marietta College, which also produced Red Shirtliff. School was in Waynesburg. I'm assuming this is a Canadian school because I don't know any of these names or the colleges. Or Red Shirtliff. Kerfuffle, it looks like to me. When I read it, I saw Kerfuffle, which is, But thank you, Chris. Chris has always been challenged with bringing the... I should not pause like I say that. Chris has not always been challenged. Chris, I misspoke. Chris has been challenged with always bringing some cool, irreverent knowledge to the show, and he does a great job doing just that. Let's look at the polls quickly, shall we? Actually, let me look at let's look at some of those big games from last week again. Real quick, and then we'll get into this week's games. I already talked about the top 25 games. By the way, Army, Navy, win big in the top 25. We'll talk about them in a second. Arizona State with a big win over Utah. Cam Rising out for the year. 7th-year senior. There is chatter that Cam Rising will be back for an 8th year at Utah, possibly. He's out for the year again, and he can be redshirted again, apparently. Texas rolls over Oklahoma 34-3. Bet the over in this game. I really thought they could score, 17 points. With the Oregon Ohio State game, just an exciting game. I want to see something. Where did this game end? I want to see where it was. Am I right? that this game, fourth quarter, I want the full play-by-play. I want to see the last play of this game. Not telling me. Yeah, it ended on the Oregon 32-yard line. He gets down 2 seconds earlier, gets down on the 40, the 35 even, right? 42, that's only a 52, 53-yarder, 54-yarder. Get down, young man. Ryan Day's teams don't play. He's 2-5, I think, against top 5 opponents. And these teams don't seem to play well. I don't like clock management. I don't like the game management a lot of times for this team. Penn State holds on to beat USC. USC played a little better than I thought. Penn State having to travel across the country. Alar was really good in this game. He's played really well all year. Penn State still got to show me they can beat a top 10 team. Still got to show me they can beat Ohio State. They probably will beat Michigan this year. They played both these teams this year or not? Maybe they played just the one. Sorry, they only play Ohio State this year. So James Franklin will avoid, with no more divisions, will avoid another 2-loss season against Ohio State and Michigan. Georgia, a little harder than it had to be against Mississippi State. Not a very good Mississippi State team. Carson Beck goes for 459 yards and 3 touchdowns, 41-31 victory. The big story here really was Kirby Smart giving a little push to Mississippi State quarterback Michael Van Buren. He did apologize to him and the Mississippi State coach afterwards. He said it happened in the heat of the moment, and he was trying to get to his defensive coordinator. You watch the video and judge for yourself. Didn't look like he was trying to get to anybody. It looked like he wanted to knock the kid down. Why? I don't know. But he did. And again, do I think it's an egregious thing? I think in the heat of the moment, I don't know what he was doing. I don't know what he was thinking. This doesn't reach the level of Woody Hayes hitting, I think Charlie Bauman was the linebacker's name from Clemson in the Gator Bowl in 80. But still, something that should not have happened. Alabama played horrible. They did everything they could to lose this game, including giving up an onside kick after they looked like they'd wrapped it up. But they hang on to win 27-25. Big game for Kalen DeBoer and Alabama on the road in Rocky Top this weekend. Tennessee struggled themselves with not a good Florida team. Billy Napier somehow's got this team 3-3. The worst is yet to come, though, for Florida. Tennessee struggles after losing to Arkansas the week before, 23-17. LSU 29-26 over Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin having trouble with, again, high-ranked teams, and he's going to be James Franklin in my mind pretty soon, and you know I love Lane Kiffin. Clemson rolls over Wake. Wake Forest not very good, 49-14. Notre Dame just annihilates Stanford 49-7. As I said, style points are important. Maybe you guys don't like running up scores. You got to do it. You have to do it in the landscape that we have today if you want one of these at-large teams or at-large bids. Iowa State wins on the road at West Virginia, having trouble. Morgantown, West Virginia. Against a game West Virginia team. They can't seem to get over the top, but not a bad football team. BYU still undefeated, 6-0, just rolls Arizona 41-19. Boise State and Giante, probably the front runner for the Heisman right now today. Another 31 carries, 217 yards, and a touchdown. This kid is really good. Travis Hunter's the best player in the country. This kid's really good as well. He'll be the top running back to go in the draft next year, probably, but that may not even be in the first round. They beat Hawaii in that game, by the way. I was going to ask June Jones. June Jones was going to be my guest. I was going to tape an interview with him for the one-on-one show, but hopefully we can reschedule. I haven't heard back from June yet. Let's see. Oh, I see. I got it. And John Gonzalez from the Sports Authority sends me to the NFL standings, and I'm second to last in. I was going to talk to June about Trav. He got Hawaii somehow to a Sugar Bowl in, I don't remember the year now. I don't have all my stuff in front of me that I was going to do with the interview, but that is an amazing feat. I can't think of a worse job in the country as far as travel. I mean, obviously, it's not bad living in Hawaii, but you don't get support from the school. You got to travel. It's got to be very tough. Kansas State beats Colorado, needs a long touchdown late in this game to come back and beat Colorado. Colorado 4-2, better than I thought. I'm still not sure I've got them better than what I say there would be. 5-7 was the ceiling for them. At Arizona, I think they lose. Let's say they beat Cincinnati. Right now, I say they lose to Texas Tech, who's in tied for first in the Big 12. I'm going to say they lose to Utah despite the problems. Kansas, I had an automatic loss. Oklahoma State. Kansas and Oklahoma State, not so good. It's possible Deion's team will now be bowl bound. I may have to rethink that 5-2 record and maybe give them either 6-6 or 7-5 even. Better. They're better. They're better. They're not good. That offensive line's still bad. That defense is still not up to par. But they win with getting very little from Travis Hunter this week because of injury. Maybe you got to rethink Deion in Colorado right now. Not a playoff contender. Sorry. Where was I? I think we're almost through the top 25 here. Missouri rolls over Massachusetts. Why are you scheduling that game? Come here. We'll give us $1 million and we'll let you beat us. Pittsburgh just ekes out their 6th straight win. Pat Narduzzi's probably saved his job at Pittsburgh, I would say as well. 17-15 over a good Cal team. And 50-49. Not a lot of defense being played. Illinois beats Purdue. Illinois, 5-1 quietly. What do you got here? He ran the ball in the final play in the OSU game. No, I know he ran the ball, but if he gets down, they got to stop the clock. He ran for over 10 yards. They got to stop the clock till the ball's set. And probably no time for, they don't have any timeouts, right? Yeah, I guess I could be wrong. I thought they might have a timeout. Well, to be honest with you, they probably, in college, he probably would have had to stop a lot closer. Let's see, if he stops at the 35, say 3 yards, are you running a yard in a second? Maybe he saves 3 seconds. You get up to the line. The clock doesn't start until the ball's set. Can you spike it and kick a field goal? I don't think it's a bad play. He just ran too far. That's all I'm saying. University of Spoiled Children blew a big lead. Yes, they did. USC playing better football than I thought. Again, I called them 5-7 to start the season as well, at the start of the season as well. Will they get there? Let's check out USC's remaining games. At Maryland started out well. Mike Lockley's job is probably in trouble there at Maryland. We may look at some of the coaches in trouble here in a bit. Versus Rutgers at home, they should win. That's 2 wins. At Washington, I think they lose. At Nebraska, or they got Nebraska at home, I think they lose to Nebraska. Big game against UCLA. It's at home, Danny. I'm going to give you UCLA Bruins a chance to win this game and lose to Notre Dame. They could have just 2 more wins, which would give them a 6-6 season. No, sorry, they're 3-3. That would give them a 5-7 season. Probably going to win one of those games I said they'd lose. Give them 6-6. Let's look at the polls. I didn't have a chance to write down the big movers in the polls this week. Let's see what's going on here. Real quick, let me look at something here. Looking for some people that may not have commented. Good to have you all with us today, though. We got a great crowd early. By the way, like 3,000 views the last week's show, over 3,000 for the Sunday Stream of Consciousness. Tremendous support. I love you guys. Love all of you. You guys help too with your guys' contributions to the show is just immeasurable for me. Texas stays at number 1. Oregon and Penn State both move up a spot to number 2 and 3. As I said, I thought Ohio State could possibly fall only to 3. They almost stayed at 3. They were only 23 votes away from being in the 3rd spot, but they're number 4. Where'd my screen go? Jesus. Sorry. Georgia, Miami, and Alabama all stay in place at 5, 6, and 7. LSU with a big move from 13 to 8 and in the playoff pool right now, if we were talking about that. Iowa State up 2 spots, still undefeated, 6-0 atop the Big 12. Clemson with their 5th straight victory, 5th straight blowout, by the way. They're back to number 10. They stay at 10. Tennessee drops 3 more spots despite a win to number 11. And right now, out of the playoff picture, most likely. Notre Dame drops a spot after blowing out Stanford. I'm not sure I understand that one, but on the outside looking in right now, the playoff picture. BYU trying to fight their way up a spot at 6-0 again, tied with Iowa State and Texas Tech atop the Big 12. We'll take a look at the conferences here in a bit. A&M up 1. They're 5-1, 5-game winning streak since losing to Notre Dame. The better A&M plays, the better for Notre Dame, by the way. Because Notre Dame's, that's going to be likely their only signature win of the year. We know how bad Florida State is. They got Louisville this week on the road. Louisville has not really lived up to expectations this year. USC, mediocre at best. Notre Dame needs Texas A&M to keep playing well and winning games. Boise State, as I mentioned, at 15, up 2 spots. Very realistic chance Boise State could get a bye in the playoff if they run the table, win the Mountain West, and one of these ACC or Big 12 teams champions drops in the standings. So you have a 1-loss champion or a 2-loss champion. It's possible Boise State sneaks into there and gets a bye. Not that 12th seed. That'd be interesting, wouldn't it? Indiana 6-0, moves up 2 spots. Signetti doing a great job at Indiana. They're in play for that Big Ten championship game, which would be a blowout, by the way. Kansas State battling back after a bad loss a couple of weeks ago to Tulane. Not Tulane, BYU. Ole Miss drops 9 spots, probably, unless they find a way to get to the SEC championship game, which is going to be very tough. This team's out of the playoff picture, most likely. Pittsburgh trying to move up. They move up 2 to 20 at 6-0. SMU moves up 4 at 5-1, the best new addition to the ACC for sure. Illinois moves up a spot to 22. And as I said, Army and Navy move into the poll at 23 and 25. First time since 1960 they've both been ranked, and Michigan stays at number 24 after not playing last week. Dropping out of this week's poll, Utah, whose playoff chances are likely gone, and Oklahoma, who I predicted to be 8-4, are well on their way to that, I think, now. Just outside of this poll, Vanderbilt, Nebraska, Arizona State, Oklahoma. UNLV gets 1 vote. By the way, UNLV and Boise State play this week at Vegas. That's going to be a huge game with playoff implications. Again, if you do not think the regular season matters because there's a 12-team playoff, you're just not paying attention. Every week matters. There's big games every week. You know, I have not been a big proponent of all the realignment, but there's been big games week after week after week. Exciting stuff. CA off college football, but Victory Plus app Victory Plus app through Roku, Fire, etc. is awesome for NHL stars and Ducks clubs. Great live coverage. It's free. Hopefully a trend. Tell them to call me and we'll push Victory Plus app all they want. All I need is a few dollars. Kidding. BYU does not play UNLV this week, Danny. BYU's got Oklahoma State. UNLV's playing Boise. Is that who you mean? Maybe you might have missed. I think Boise State will blow out UNLV this week, myself, on the road in Vegas. And you could have just possibly mistyped that. Let me know, though. Yeah, Boise. That's what I thought. I knew you knew what you were talking about, Danny Fuller. Is UCLA gonna beat your University of Spoiled Children in their rivalry? And are both these teams, Danny? I mean, it's interesting. Washington's been up and down. Washington's got their own issues with losing 21 out of 22 starters from that championship game team last year. Oregon's been very good. I really believe that USC and UCLA are just ill-equipped right now to compete in the Big Ten. They aren't physical enough. They're still playing, and again, obviously Washington, Oregon come from the same conference, but I don't feel the same. You watch Dan Lanning, and I think Oregon is tough. I watched Dan Lanning, and he feels like a Big Ten guy. Just feels like a Big Ten guy. Does Lincoln Riley feel like a Big Ten guy? Does the Deshaun Foster? And I don't know what your thoughts are on Deshaun Foster, Danny. We haven't had that conversation. I know it's his first year, and he's in a tough spot. Came in late too. Chip Kelly left. I think well into the offseason because Bill O'Brien had taken that job at Ohio State, and Chip Kelly took the unprecedented. Made the unprecedented move. I don't remember it ever happening before of giving up a power conference head coaching job to become an offensive coordinator. I never heard of it, but I feel like USC and UCLA are just ill-equipped right now to compete in the Big Ten. They're too much of a finesse team still. Oregon doesn't feel that way. Even when Marco Cristobal was there, Oregon pounded the football a lot. And that's kind of how it feels. UCLA will not beat USC. Will UCLA get back to where they can compete in the Big Ten? Do you like Deshaun Foster? I'm curious. Let's go around we'll go around the conferences real quick here. Well, not real quick. This American Athletic Conference is really shaping up to be an exciting experience. Teams at the top. You got 5 teams undefeated. Army at 5-0, Navy at 3-0, North Texas at 2-0, Tulane 2-0, Charlotte 2-0. Army and Navy could play back-to-back weeks. Army and Navy could play in the championship game of this conference and then play the Army-Navy game the week after. And one of these teams could be playoff bound. If Boise State stumbles, and I don't expect that to happen, I think Boise will get that group of 5 nod. But Army and Navy could have something to say to it. So could Tulane. I don't see either of these teams going undefeated. Maybe in conference, not undefeated. They both got Notre Dame on their schedule. But it's a fun I've always found the American to be a fun conference. The ACC. Listen, you can put them down all you want. They got 5 teams in the top 25. 2 in the top 10. Clemson and Miami, both undefeated. Clemson with 4 wins already. Miami, Pittsburgh, SMU, all 2-0 in the conference. followed by Louisville and Syracuse and Virginia, surprisingly, at 2-1. I think this comes down probably to Clemson and Miami. Maybe Pittsburgh can stay alive there, but the question is going to be whether they get that second team in. Similar situation in the Big 12. Very surprising when you look at the top. Well, Kansas State's moved back into 4, but last week it looked like the bottom of the league was at the top. You had Texas Tech, BYU, both picked to finish near the bottom of this conference, with Cincinnati, with Colorado, all near the top, first and second. Kansas State's gotten back into a tie for second at 2-1 with several other teams. But BYU and Iowa State, we're going to find out whether this league can get a couple of teams in. 10-minute warning. Thank you, Rick. In 9 minutes, we'll say goodbye to the Roku audience as Robert Butler will come on. And I'll be on at 8:30. Once we finish this show up, I'll jump right over. And if I can, I'm not sure if Robert uses StreamYard or not. If he does, I think I can get in there and share my appearance there. And if I can't, then watch us on Roku or watch us on SportScope's Facebook page. But I'll try to share it if I can. I can't remember. I've been on with Robert a lot, and I cannot remember whether I can share the show or not. The big disappointment here is Utah in this conference and Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State 0-3 in conference. Baylor 0-3. Dave Aranda's in big trouble as well. We may look at some of these coaches in trouble. We've already talked about a couple in big trouble. The Big Ten, when you look at it, at the top is Indiana. I'm not sure why they're listed on the top, but they're running on a 6-game winning streak, 3-0 in the conference, same as Oregon. I would say Oregon is probably the favorite to finish here first. Penn State's also undefeated, both in conference and in total. Illinois at 2-1, Ohio State at 2-1. So is Nebraska, Iowa, Michigan, Wisconsin. Now, realistically, I still think this is going to be Ohio State and Oregon. Unless James Franklin pulls a rabbit out of his hat and finally beats Ohio State, Penn State could probably fight their way in there. I do not see Indiana, as well as they played, and as good a job as Segretti's done there, I'm not sure that they can handle it. Michigan, I still think, is a disappointment. They are 2-1 in the conference. What are they overall? 4-2. I still think this team finishes out of top 25. Who else? Washington holding their own. With USC, even though they got off to a decent start, they got to number 11 in the country. They're 1-3 in the conference, guys. 3-3 overall. Big disappointment. Conference USA, Liberty keeps their hopes for that group of 5 bid alive. It's going to be very hard for them to get in this race if Boise wins out, or one of the American Conference teams goes even with one loss. I think it's possible Liberty finishes behind them. But well-coached team, Sam Houston and Western Kentucky, Jacksonville State also in play there. The independents, you've got Notre Dame, and then the horrible teams from New England, UConn. UConn is 4-2, but UMass, after probably getting paid $1 million, gets beat at home by Missouri. And UConn, I think, had a bye last week. But Notre Dame is now 5-1, back up to number 12, fighting an uphill battle. The Mid-American Conference, Buffalo with a nice win last week over Toledo. Always a good football team, still a good football team. Ohio is also 2-0, Western Michigan 2-0. I like Buffalo's chances here to come away with this conference championship. The Mountain West, we know about Boise State up to number 15. Their only loss on a last-second field goal by Oregon up in Eugene. So that's not a bad loss. This team, it's going to take a couple of losses possibly for this team to fall out of the group of 5 rankings, unless, I should say, one of those losses is in their conference championship game. The Pac-12, as we know, is a very close race between Washington State and Oregon State, both 0-0. Overall, though, Washington State's got a pretty decent football team. Texas A&M, the Southeastern Conference, Texas A&M and Texas at the top, along with LSU, both all undefeated in the conference. Only one loss among them, two losses among them in total. Georgia finds itself at number 3. Arkansas at 2-1. Vanderbilt at 2-1, 4-2 overall. One of the bigger surprises in the country. Alabama's down at 7th in the conference. Again, this will change when we start playing, but a big game this week. 2 big games in this conference. Texas and Georgia, Tennessee and Alabama. Going to be very interesting to see what happens there. Sun Belt, Georgia Southern, a good team. James Madison loses. They win last week. Excuse me. They're 1-1 in the conference. Coastal Carolina, perennially in the hunt here. Interesting, UL Monroe, their head coach, whose name's escaping, was the offensive coordinator at UAB. And Trent Dilfer got that job. And Trent Dilfer is one of the guys I would say, in big trouble this year as well, as he's coached UAB in the where they play. Come on, I know where you are. Conference USA, I believe. No, they're not. Where are they playing? Oh, no, they might be in the same conference, you knucklehead. They aren't. Where are they? It doesn't matter. They're 1-5. Trent Dilfer's in trouble. He got the job over the offensive coordinator for UAB, who went to UL Monroe, and has them 3-0 in the conference, 5-1 overall. So there's your look at the around the conferences. We'll take a look at some other games here in a little bit. In 3 minutes, and so we'll say goodbye now to our viewers on the Roku channel. If you want to watch the rest of this show, you can watch it, I believe, at midnight tonight. We'll probably replay it midnight tomorrow as well. And then Saturday morning at 9 o'clock, you can watch the final half hour of the show, or watch the whole hour and a half over. That's your call. But we'll see the Roku channel. Let me just give a little... as we say goodbye to Roku, let's give them a little shout out here. I can't find the commercial that I wanted to play. Mac, I know you had another one, and I've got to get it. I don't know if Mac and Linda are still watching. If you are, I don't have the long commercial promo that you guys played at the beginning of the professional sports show today on National Streaming Sports. I'd love to play that one, but if you guys are saying goodbye, I'm going to say goodbye to you right now with my video, and
you're listening to Keith Engle, the host of TGI Sports Talk on the National Streaming Sports Roku channel.
There you go. So we'll see you guys on Roku again next week. We'll see you Friday morning. We'll see you Friday afternoon, and we'll see you Sunday morning. We'll see you Wednesday night with the college football huddle. The rest of you stick around. All right. Where are we going from here? Should we look at the games this week? Let's look at the standings, by the way. I'll give you my picks for this week's in the ESPN poll. Right now, as we look at the standings in the poll, we got still our... Nobody's claimed these teams. So it's got to be people not watching the show or afraid to comment. I don't know which. The ESPN and generic picker is 45 wins and 24 losses. 6 wins last week. 7 was the high last week for Beamer Ball. That's Neil Bush and Paul Spada. Both had 7 last week. The rest of us were around 6 and 5. Been a tough year. The Sports Nut, who we still don't know as well, is 44 wins, just behind our generic ESPNer. Beamer Ball sits behind them at 39. Paul at 37. Keith, your humble host, 37. Rick and his dogs, 35. Poppy's picks, 28, it looks like. And then, as we said, Scott Kobe disappeared. I think the home has throttled his internet speed and then won't let him pick. And the Mad New Yorker picked 1 week or 2 weeks, I guess, and fell out of favor. So that's that. Let me make my picks here, and we'll look at the rest of the schedule after we do that. Miami, and this again, this segment will be brought to you by SeatGeek. So check out SeatGeeks. I got to get I'm trying to get the barcode or what do you call that thing? Good God, I'm 64 years old. I don't know what these things are. QR code. Jeez, up on the site. And I just need some time, and work's been crazy. I don't have time to get all the things I need done, and I don't have income coming in from the show to pay a producer. Mac's the only guy with a producer. We're going to take Miami. Miami's visiting Louisville. Miami's been, Jesus, they have been looking for a loss, it looks like, week after week after week lately. I'm going to take them on the road here. They had a bye last week. Hopefully Marco's got them some of the mistakes fixed. Cam Ward's been fabulous, but too many mistakes in big moments. They've had to come back to win games. That could be a good thing. That could be a bad thing. Louisville's been a bit of a disappointment. I'm going to stick with the Hurricanes. Some of that's a head bet. I'm sure some of that's a head bet. Some of that's a heart bet. Nebraska, who I'm still high on, 5-1, going to the 6-0 Indiana Hoosiers, number 16 in the country. Indiana's played really good football. I'm going against the trend, and I'm going to take the Cornhuskers. Only 27% of the picks have gone that way on ESPN. I'll go with the Cornhuskers in this game. I think they stay alive. I think they learned a lot with that loss to Illinois here a few weeks ago, and we'll see how that goes. Cincinnati at home, playing better football than you would think at 4-2. Arizona coming off a big win against Utah last week. I'm going to take the Bearcats at home. Again, bucking the trend. Louisiana, Raging Cajuns will visit Coastal Carolina. I'm going to take the Raging Cajuns on the road. I'm going off a lot of road teams here. Bama at Tennessee. This is a huge game. The loser here is probably, I don't know though, Danny, we talked about the fact that there'll be as many as 6 2-loss teams in the tournament. Alabama going to Tennessee, both teams playing really bad football the last couple of weeks. Alabama did everything they could to lose that game, as did Tennessee. Both come out of victor last week. Tennessee had to go to overtime against a bad Florida team. I'm going to take Tennessee at home. I like Rocky Top here. I loved what they were doing early in the year. Their defense was good. They're very athletic. They're fast. I just think they're going to be a little too much for Alabama. Michigan travels to the Fighting Illini. I'm going to take the Fighting Illini at home to beat the Wolverines. Baylor, Dave Aranda fighting for his job, going to Texas Tech. Texas Tech, a big surprise this year. I mean, early in the year, their defense was a sieve. They're on a 5-game winning streak. I thought this team might lose every game they played. They're playing good football. They get my pick at home this week. LSU goes to Arkansas. This is tough. LSU with a big win at home at night last week. This game will be played in Arkansas. Sam Pittman's team has played very well. Big spot for a letdown. All that said, LSU wins on the road. Georgia goes to Texas. Who's Georgia? Is Georgia that team that we saw against Clemson? It was just Georgia, that team that we saw just get by Kentucky, lose to Alabama. I like the Longhorns, man. They just look to be loaded. This game's at home. If this game were in Georgia, I'd likely go the other way. I probably won't lay the points in this game, but I like Texas to win a lot. And Kansas State will go to West Virginia. Tough place to play in Morgantown. As I said, Kansas State playing better football since that humiliating loss, actually, to BYU a few weeks back. Mountaineers have been a bit of a disappointment to me. They're 3-3. I think they're 1-2 in the conference. I'm going to take Kansas State on the road. That's a lot of road. That's a lot of road teams. And we're going to put in how many points against Georgia Tech? I'm going to say 60, just in case I go undefeated or something here and I got a chance to win some money from ESPN, right? Let's see if we can save this. All right, we're saved. So that's what we got. What say you guys? And we'll look at the rest of the games here as well. Let's see. Mets and Dodgers getting ready to kick off. A little bit of baseball news. We got about 25 minutes left here. I'll go up and watch Jeopardy with my wife, which when we have taped it takes like 13 minutes to watch. Seriously, we'll come home from vacation and I'm going to have, I don't know, 10 or 11 or 12 Jeopardies to watch. And we'll watch them all in about, 2 hours. 30-minute show. There's 13 minutes of show in Jeopardy right now. Amazing. I don't know why I cared about that. Conference USA. How come I could not find? I mean, I must not have gone. I guess I didn't scroll up far enough. I knew they were in one of these. Why don't they come up one of my? There they are. Scroll right past them. They play with Liberty in that. I did get to that conference, and for whatever reason, they must be listing them as Alabama Birmingham, and maybe they're not in Conference USA. That's interesting, Danny. I thought the same thing, and I scrolled up here, and they're not listed in that league. Did they drop them? Do we have breaking news here? Did UAB get dropped from Conference USA? I got to be losing my mind. I know they don't play in the Mid-American. I know they don't play there. Where are they? That's got it. I thought they're in Conference USA as well. They're not listed as I look at the standings in that's very interesting. They're not listed in that's how good ESPN is, I guess, huh? They're not even listed here. Very odd. Anyway, we won't worry about that. Louisville about to beat the Convicts. I'm not offended. I don't get offended by anything, as you well know. I'm still looking for a note from June Jones. I haven't gotten it yet. June, if you're watching the show, please call me. What the heck? I got a text from I got a text from my boss at work. We'll get back to him when we're done here. Here's what I'll say about that, Danny. Is this a dangerous game for Miami? Yes. I think there's a couple left on the schedule this team could still lose because they've been looking for a loss. They feel like a team looking for a loss. And I think you guys know, Danny, I've said this 100 times, right? Whether it's college football, whether it's my team in baseball, the Yankees, the Patriots, the Knicks. I don't just, I'm not one to tell you my team is going to go, 162-0 or 17-0 or 12-0 in college. When there's problems, I point them out. Miami's got some issues on defense. Uh-oh, that's not good. My screen just bit the dust here. What happened? Huh. Might be looking for a new monitor tomorrow. My monitor just got this weird, we went all pixeled. Well, we'll reboot the computer here and we'll see what happens. Hold on 1 second, guys. I'm going to do something. I'm going to try something, see what happens. We'll have to wing it without any information here the rest of the show, probably. I can't even look for, I could put it over here on the little screen, but, there we go. I don't know what happened there. I'm not a fair weather, I should say a fair weather. I don't look through my team's rose-colored glasses. Again, the team's been looking for a loss. Do I think this team's going undefeated? By the way, even if they do go undefeated, this team's got to beat Clemson. Do they have Clemson in the regular season? Worth looking at. This team has had trouble in the past. There's been many years in the last 5, 6, 7 years where I've become a Miami fan due to marriage, where this team has been hyped and then lost big games. They lost big games at Georgia to Virginia Tech during this time frame, to Clemson, obviously, a couple of times, to Florida State. This team has got Louisville, Florida State, Duke, Georgia Tech, Wake Forest, and Syracuse. I'll be at that Syracuse game, by the way, which was announced for noon when we bought the tickets. I bet you anything this game's at 7:30 at night, which is fine. We'll go up, have some dinner, go to the game, come home. But anyway, that Syracuse game could be a big game for this Miami team. They're not losing to Florida State. Duke's okay. They got them at home. Georgia Tech, not as good as maybe we thought when they beat Florida State early in the year. In Ireland, Wake Forest are not going to lose to. I mean, Louisville, Duke, and Syracuse are potential losses. Even as this team finishes undefeated, they got to get by Clemson most likely in the ACC championship game. They have not proved in the past that they can do that. How much money can you write in on ESPN with a perfect week in points? How much? I have no idea. How much money can you win? I think you mean, right? I have no idea. I know Drew mentioned it on the football. I don't know. Again, you'd have to look at the rules, Rick. My guess is you were probably tied 14-0 with about 10,000 people. There's so many people that get in those pools, and you gotta. Who knows what tiebreakers they put in? So I don't really pay attention to the rules because I just don't read. I guess I don't read instructions. AAC. Oh, that's right. UAB moved to the AAC. That's why I can't find them. Thank you, CA. I forgot about the move to the AAC. In recent years, UAB, UTSA, South Florida, Florida Atlantic have all moved from Conference USA, where Danny had them, to the AAC. Thank you for straightening us out there. Thank you very much. 2 years ago. Thank you, CA. I knew there was something going on that was driving me nuts. I thought maybe they got dropped from the ranks of the NCAA FBS1 schools. If that happens before UMass, they're really in trouble. By the way, Trent Dilfer's probably in trouble himself. Speaking of coaches in trouble, let me see. I had let's take a quick look here. Coaches on the hot seat. There's a few. The AAC, Trent Dilfer is definitely on the hot seat. Again, as I mentioned earlier, it was a surprise pick that he got this. The team, the fans, the press, they all seem to want Bryant Vincent, the offensive coordinator, who's gone to UL Monroe and done very well. And Trent Dilfer, who went 4-8 last year and 1-5, I think, so far this year, he's in trouble. Stan Drayton at Temple's in trouble. Anytime you're coaching Temple, you're lucky you're going to get, 2 or 3 years. They're 2-16 in AAC play since he took over. The coach at Rice, Mike Bloomgren. Rice is a tough place to coach. This team could still get to a bowl game, might save his job. We'll see. Mike Houston, who took over the East Carolina job. East Carolina was really good until the last couple of years. He led them to bowl games their first couple of years after leading James Madison to a 37-6 record. And he won the FCS title before Segretti got there, and he took them to a great season last year. I think a 1-loss season. ECU still got Army. They still got Navy. They still got North Texas State. They still got Tulsa, FAU, Temple. Those are winnable games, but this team could be in trouble as well. In the ACC, Mac Brown, 4 losses in a row, 73-year-old coach. They just gave up 70 a few weeks ago to James Madison. He's had a couple of decent seasons in his second tour of duty here. They finished 18th 2 years ago, I want to say. They won 17 games the past couple of seasons, but really it feels to me like things are getting out of control for Mac Brown, and I keep hearing Jamie Chadwell is maybe the next coach here. The Big 12, Dave Aranda kept talking about. He's had a really roller coaster ride. He took over for Matt Rule when Matt Rule went to Carolina. His first year there, I think he was 2-7. Then he overhauled the entire coaching staff. They had a great season, went 12-2. Weren't far off from making the college playoff. They finished 5th in the country that year, but since then, they're 11-20. He's 2-4 now. The defense is not very good. I think this team's in trouble. I think he's in trouble. I don't think he's saving his job, and no matter how you look at it. The Big Ten, Mike Locksley, I mentioned at Maryland. He got off to a really good start this year, but he's had double-digit losses. The last, including a couple at home. They lost by 27 to a mediocre Northwestern team. And they're probably going to be underdogs in their remaining games this year. So I think Mike Locksley's going to be in trouble. Ryan Walters at Purdue as well. They're 1-5. And I mean, really, really bad. Only 4-8 last year. He's had trouble since taking over for Jeff Brom. Just can't get it going in the Big Ten. Conference USA, Sonny Cumbie at Louisiana Tech is probably in trouble. They're 2-4 this year. He's 16-18 in his first 2 years. Not looking good for him there either. The MAC, the Ball State coach, Akron coach Joe Moorhead is one of the best offensive coaches in the country. He's been an offensive coordinator for several major conference teams. Took over Akron when he wasn't getting offered any other jobs, and he's 1-6 there after I think he's had back-to-back 2-10 seasons before this. The Bowling Green coach is probably in trouble. Scott Loeffler. Kent State coach. Kent State may be worse than Massachusetts, if that's possible. Kenny Burns is probably going to lose his job there. In the Mountain West, Tim Skipper at Fresno is 3-3. I would say he's probably safe, but the seat's going to be getting warm. They're off. They got off to a 3-1 start. He took over for Jeff Tedford, who resigned because of health reasons in his second go around at Fresno. He might be able to keep his job if they get hot in the second half and get into a decent bowl game. Utah State's Nate Drayling is probably in trouble with his team getting ready to go to the new Pac-12 in 2 years. They'll likely be starting over with a new head coach last year. The only team they've won, by the way, is FCS Robert Morris in their opener. Sam Pittman, I mentioned earlier at Arkansas, 4-2, was probably on the hottest of coaches, hot seats, I should say, of coaches in the SEC when the season started. Him and Billy Napier. I think Pittman's seat's cooling off a bit, but they can't collapse like they have in the past couple of years. This team's got to get to a bowl game. They got to be at least 6-6, 7-5, and those marks are probably possible. They still have Mississippi State on their schedule. They still have Louisiana Tech on their schedule. That gets them to 6 wins. One more win, they're 7-5. Probably Pittman gets one more year. Billy Napier, he's got a lot. They don't have a lot of patience there anyway. If you remember, they fired Dan Mullen, who'd won 29 games in his first 3 seasons there, and he got the act going 5-6. Jim McElwain, I think, won 19 games his first couple of years. He gets fired his 3rd year. Will Muschamp got only 4 years. Ron Zook got 3 years. This is Napier's 3rd year. He's 11-14. They're 3-3, but they've still got who they got. They do have Mrs. Oh, they don't. I'm sorry. They've got 4 top 20 opponents, including 2 top 5 opponents left on their schedule. They're in big trouble. They do have some other winnable games in FSU, but they lost their starting quarterback's done for the year. They're playing a true freshman at quarterback the rest of the way. Maybe he sparks them. But is 6-6 going to save his record? They got Kentucky this weekend. I think maybe his seat's cooled off a little bit, but he's going to have a tough time. Things have been in disarray there since he got there. Sean Clark at Appalachian State may be in trouble. He's had really good teams up until this year. Getting to 5 wins may be difficult this year. I don't think one bad year ought to cost this guy his job, and I think he will probably keep it. Butch Jones, who flamed out at Tennessee after great success at Cincinnati. One of those coaches had rehabbed his career at Alabama on Nick Saban's staff. He's slowly improved Arkansas State every year. Got to a bowl game last year. They went from 2 wins to 3 wins to 6 wins. 3-3 right now. I mean, 6-6 feels like the floor, so they may get this. They may even improve a game. So Butch Jones, I think, is probably safer than he was before. Willie Hall is probably out at Southern Miss, though. They've had a very bad year, 1-5. Southern Miss has had a decent history in football. Rode past Kent State on the way to Cleveland. Rick, you didn't answer. I maybe did answer me, and I didn't see it. What are your thoughts, by the way, before I wrap it up here tonight? And we'll talk about a couple more things. I want to go through some of the other games real quick on the schedule besides the top 25 games. Rick, I talked about potentially as part of the 101 because I'm not doing an interview Friday. I'm going to come on. We're going to talk about, I don't know what. We're just shoot the bull for an hour, and I'll talk about vacation and maybe some guys I'm trying to get on for interviews coming up. But I thought I might play Bobby's induction speech, but I didn't want to overstep my bounds and use somebody's personal video. I know the link you gave me, I think, was his wife Christine's post, if I remember right. So let me know what you think about that. Let's go through this. Let's go through the standing, the rest of the schedule. By the way, quickly, we might go a couple minutes long, but maybe not. I didn't lose my monitor. I didn't want to have to go to the office and find a new one. So Friday night we got Oregon against Purdue. Oregon will win for fun. Oklahoma State against BYU. I got to tell you, BYU a 9.5-point favorite. Who'd have thought that before the season started? Miami goes to Louisville. We know Danny likes Louisville to pull the upset here. We're not betting this game. I can tell you that. Might bet the over 61.5. We'll see. Virginia goes to Clemson. Virginia's improved. This will be a better test for Clemson maybe than some of their previous games, but it's at home. They're a 21-point favorite. I like Clemson to win. We'll see about the cover. Nebraska at Indiana. I use 6.5. I like Nebraska with the points here. Could be a bet for Keith on Saturday if they're in the cigar box. Auburn goes to Missouri. Missouri trying to come back. They're 5-1, but they don't feel like a 5-1 team after the loss they suffered to A&M. I think Missouri beats up on Auburn pretty good here. Maybe laying a 4.5 might be worth the wager. Army gets East Carolina, 15.5-point favorite by Army. Might seem like a lot, but Army's been just beating teams up. Alabama, Tennessee. I like Tennessee getting 3 at home. Both these teams are struggling a little bit, but you give me 3 points with the two teams as closely matched as these two and the athleticism on the Tennessee side of the football. I know Jalen Miller was a really good quarterback, but I like Alabama. I like Tennessee with the 3. I might even bet the over in this game. Notre Dame will go to Georgia Tech, giving up 11.5 on the road. I'd like Notre Dame to win the game. Michigan at Illinois. Charlotte, going to give Navy maybe their biggest test of the year. Navy is 17-point favorite. Charlotte, not a bad football team. 3-3, 2-0 in the conference. Might be a little tough to cover that spread for Navy. We'll see. Texas A&M goes to Mississippi State. They should win that game easily. LSU, Arkansas. LSU in a 2.5-point favorite on the road. Upset alert. I like LSU to win this game. Be careful. Watch out for Arkansas. Georgia goes to Texas, -5. I like Texas to win this game. I'm just not sure I'm willing to lay the 5 in this game. Iowa State gets UCF. Iowa State playing very well. I think they get the win, maybe the cover. Kansas State goes to West Virginia. They're -3. I took them in the pool with no points. Not sure. Probably not a bettable game for me, but I like Kansas State to win the game. SMU and Stanford, and 2 new ACC teams. I gotta like SMU in that game. They played very, very good football. See if there's any other games of interest. Right now, Western Kentucky is playing Sam Houston and winning 17-14. Let's go through here quickly and see what else we have. Boy, we already had games this week. South Alabama beat Troy. Middle Tennessee beat Kennesaw State. New Mexico State beats Louisiana Tech. It looks like those games, those Tuesday night games, have gotten started. We'll probably see them going forward the rest of the year. Sun Belt and Conference USA are usually those teams that play on Tuesday nights. Boston College will get Virginia Tech. Interesting matchup there. Florida State will get Duke. Is Florida State going to win any more games? 1-5. Are they going to win any more games? Oregon at Purdue, we talked about that game. Fresno, we talked about Skipper being maybe in trouble there. They get Nevada. I think Fresno gets the win on the road here. Talked about that game. Wisconsin 4-2, 2-1. We think about them struggling under Luke Fickell. They're going to go to Northwestern. These are 2 fairly evenly matched mediocre teams in the Big Ten. Wisconsin seems like a big favorite at 7 on the road in this game. I think they win, but I think Northwestern's got a shot at covering that spread. UCLA will travel to East Rutherford, New Jersey, which I'm sure they're really excited about because it smells in New Jersey. I just want you guys to know that. Rutgers a 4.5-point favorite. They played decent football, 4-2 overall under Greg Schiano in his second tour of duty here. We'll see how that works out. I'm going to take Rutgers at home in this game. UConn will play Wake Forest. I think UConn wins. Another one. Wake Forest is really, really struggling this year. Cincinnati and Arizona State I've already talked about. I like Cincinnati to win this game at home. Coastal Carolina has Louisiana. I like Coastal Carolina at home. South Carolina played some really good football this year. Gets Oklahoma. I might like the over again in this Oklahoma game. 40. Oklahoma's a 1.5 favorite. I don't like the game itself. I might like the over. Central Michigan, don't care. Sorry, Central Michigan peeps. A lot of games this week. Charlotte, we goes there. North Carolina State goes to Cal. Houston plays Kansas. No bigger disappointment in the country than Kansas this year. Lance Leopold's team struggling big time. UAB goes to South Florida. Team's in trouble. Rice goes to Tulane. Tulane's still in play for that group of 5 pick. USC goes to Maryland. I think USC gets the ship righted a little bit. Colorado and Arizona. Arizona 3-point favorite. Colorado finding a way to get things done. Not sure. I like Arizona at home, I think. Baylor goes to Texas Tech. I like Texas Tech in this game. Maybe we already talked about that game. Georgia, we already talked about. Kentucky and Florida, interesting game too. Both 3-3 and under 500 in the conference. Big game for Billy Napier, man. You can't lose a Kentucky at home here. UK's a 1-point favorite on the road. Getting to be 8:30. I can hear the whistling from Andy Griffith around the corner. TCU goes to Utah. As I said, Utah without Cam Rising for the rest of the year. So anyway, there we go. Rick, I didn't hear from you about the Bob question, so let me know about that. Guys, we'll see you next week with the college football huddle, 2 days before we leave for vacation, and then we'll get something done on the ship the following Wednesday, probably before 7 p.m. though. I'll try to give you guys a heads up. It is something on the cruise I tend to do on the fly when I find I got 45 minutes or an hour to kill with a beer or something in front of me. So yeah, let them know. I'd love to play it on the show Friday morning. Let me know. I just don't want to overstep my bounds, of course. Thanks everybody for tuning in today. We'll see you Friday morning, and we'll see you Friday afternoon with the Major League Baseball update. Lots to talk about. Mets, Dodgers, Yankees, Indians. Here we go, guys. We'll see you later. Have a great night. Keith Engle. Ow. Maybe I'm out.
Football season is here, and SeatGeek is my go-to for buying tickets. Now with SeatGeek, every single ticket is backed with their buyer guarantee. We've all had plans change, and when you can't make it to the big game, SeatGeek has you covered. They're the only ticketer that allows you to return your tickets ahead of the event for credit with SeatGeek swaps. So when things come up, I know that my tickets won't go to waste. So what are you waiting for? Download the SeatGeek app to maximize your possibilities and shop live events with confidence.
You're listening to Keith Engle, the host of TGI Sports Talk on the National Streaming Sports Roku channel. You're watching National Streaming Sports, over 20 podcasts, 70 shows, and a 3.5-star rating on Roku TV.